So I found this video on my recommendations a while back, a video called The Illegal Version of Poppy Playtime. Now, I love plagiarism scandals and bootleg content, so when I originally clicked this video, I just assumed it would be about some knockoff game or something. However, the video actually goes deep into the trenches about this content farm that allegedly predicted things from Chapter 3, which is very interesting, until you realize the video barely proves that at all. Now, I want to clarify, this isn't a hate video, but given this video has 250,000 views, and its channel has 800,000 subscribers, on top of nobody in the comments really talking about the problems with this video, I decided I want to talk about this and why this video is very flawed. Because frankly, this video's claims that Poppy Shotley somehow got the Chapter 3 transcripts just doesn't make any sense. And on top of using poor evidence, doesn't even talk about the video's topic, both what it builds up at the start and what's title and thumbnail state, for the wide majority of the video. Simply parroting the few points they did make at the start before going over some of the weird content of the channel. I'll be going through the whole video and all of its points in order to completely debunk TheftKing's arguments and defend Poppy Shotley from these accusations here today in this courtroom.
Oh, but not so fast. I'm afraid that in the fairness of court of law, you need both a prosecutor and a defense. And so we meet again. Unfortunately for you, I'll be here to counteract each of your blasphemous claims and prove that my client is absolutely, unequivocally innocent.
TheftKing hired his own defense lawyer. Wait, then why am I dressed as Phoenix? Isn't he usually the defense? Whatever. Let's do this.
Now hold your horses, champ. The court has one small request the defense would like to make before we begin.
Huh? Yeah, go for it.
As I'm sure we both know, TheftKing has been in some altercations in the past.
Waiting for his opportunity to try to go for me, but you swing at the king, you best not miss. And these fucking guys missed.
It'd be quite the low blow to bring them up. So given this video was posted many months after the situation, the court asks that the Kane-Carter situation and any other past controversies are not mentioned here in this court.
Oh yeah, that's right. TheftKing has been in many controversies since the Kane-Carter situation. Though as far as I'm aware, the points I'll be making in this video should have nothing to do with it, so that shouldn't be a problem. Very well, the defense accepts this request. So then, without further ado...
As mentioned before, the game begins with a recreation of the Dogday chase sequence from Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, and it's pretty incomprehensible. Again, at first glance, this just looks like a very strange remake of Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, and that's true, but while it's janky and hilarious, this is shockingly similar to the actual Dogday encounter from the game, which again, wouldn't be that weird were it not for the fact that this video came out in December. Chapter 3 wouldn't come out for over a month.
It's important to note that although this video was posted December 17th, 2023, during this point in time we had already gotten the first official game trailer, posted December 11th, just 6 days prior. In this trailer, we see Dogday chained up as well as a section of the Dogday chase. This includes the wide majority of the things the game gets right, such as being chained up, the floor patterns, and of course chasing us through the tunnels.
Not so fast. While you're eager to go on and on about what the trailer does include, you've forgotten easily the most important part of the video. At the very end of this section, the player finds themselves at a large pit, which they must use the purple hand to cross, causing the chase to end. Sound familiar? However, if we look into the trailer, this scene is notably absent. Your argument, I'm afraid, falls into the very pit you speak of.
Let's look at this from the standpoint of not having seen the final game. From the trailers, we know there's a chase, we know they have a purple hand during that chase, and we know the purple hand is used to jump large distances. Realistically, what else are you gonna do to have the fight end? In fact, as TheftKing himself admits, this isn't even the first time they've used a pit as a way to end a chase. At 5:47, the character jumps over another pit with the purple hand while being chased by Catnap instead. Twice. And later they show Nightmare Huggy chase that has them also jump over a pit. There just aren't many other ways to have a chase end while still utilizing the purple hand.
In your eagerness to disprove this one video, you've overlooked another crucial detail. Just seconds later, they bring up the very argument you're making here.
It's weird, but I guess it could just be a coincidence, right? Maybe they just used trailers and early preview content to piece together what would happen in the Dogday scene. It's possible. However, the next video was even more suspicious.
Ooh, you act like this is the only video TheftKing has that predicts Chapter 3. However, as it were, they predict something even more suspicious. The game's ending.
It's another low-budget recreation of Poppy Chapter 3, this time depicting what appears to be a version of the game's ending scene with Poppy in the elevator. As mentioned before, portions of the dialogue are taken directly from the real Chapter 3, only, you know, butchered and broken.
What's happening down here is bigger than all of us. What's happening down here is bigger than all of us.
Why not just use the audio from the trailer? That quote is included in the trailer. Wouldn't just copying that line of dialogue from the trailer itself make it sound more real?
Exactly that. If they were just copying this dialogue for the trailers, they'd naturally use the audio from it. Seeing as they're a form of content farm, just cutting it from the source would make it much easier and take less time than generating it through AI like they did here. Although they don't mention it here. The going theory that TheftKing presents is that Poppy Shotley somehow got access to a full transcript of the game, which explains how they're able to predict key details of the story.
That does make sense. Not good for my case, though. Unless... Wait a minute. Play Poppy Shotley's version of the ending again.
I need you, so we can get revenge on those monsters who tortured you. Who tortured us.
This audio isn't in the right order.
Huh?
A transcript is shown in order of when it's spoken, right? This audio isn't in the right order.
No, I get that. Just, what do you mean it's not in the right order?
Take a look at the audio again.
What's happening down here is bigger than all of us. I need you, so we can get revenge on those monsters who tortured you. Who tortured us.
This is from the other elevator scene, where they are turning on the skylight in Playcare, not the scene where they're going down and Kissy gets attacked. If they had access to the transcript, they'd have the exact order that all the scenes happened in, meaning they'd know that these were two separate scenes. On top of this, these lines are also included in the trailer.
What's happening down here is bigger than all of us. I need you, so we can get revenge on those monsters who tortured you. Who tortured us.
And although Theft dubs the actual game audio over this to show their point, look at the subtitles. The line reads, "Kissy, wait, don't do this," which you may recall, in the final game, this line doesn't exist.
I'll admit, you've done well for a losing case. You want to keep going? Very well then. Let's go back to the Dogday chase video, shall we?
The Dogday chase? Didn't we already discuss that everything in that video could have easily been created without having played the full release?
As narrow-minded as ever, are you? Look a little closer.
Something interesting. In the very first video featuring Dogday, these Poppy-esque lockers are present. I recognized them, but not from the game, rather from Sketchfab. The thing is, unlike most of the Poppy-related models on the site, which are just extracted from the game, the creator of these lockers had uploaded them, but not made them downloadable. This was curious, and I went into the comments and saw this message from the creator. I can't let download this model because I made it for a customer. Sorry. The uploader's profile links to the ArtStation page of a Slovenian artist whose name I will not attempt to pronounce.
Slovenian artist on Sketchfab? What does this have to do with Shotley, though?
There wasn't much more information beyond that. Huh, now that I think about it, where is Buggy Huggy, the most popular fake Poppy channel, from? Hi, my name is Vlad, and here I will post some videos from Poppy Playtime game. Huh. So, I can't say for sure that Vlad is from Russia or somewhere in that region, but, I mean, these were all clues. I was getting closer to uncovering the Russian plot to steal Poppy Playtime's plot.
You see? How did they get this so early?
They seem pretty simple to make, no? They're cylinders with a spherical top. All they'd really need to do is texture it like in game. They could have pretty easily hired someone off Fiverr to recreate privately. They clearly can't be the only ones who want a recreation pre-game, given the amount of channels making content just like this.
I think you're missing the point here. If Poppy Shotley didn't have access to the game, how did they know about this model?
I think you're misunderstanding my point, Gravyman. So this Slavic artist made a private model of this locker. So what?
Pardon?
These lockers can be seen in the trailers as well, but looking past that, TheftKing's connection here means nothing. Let's pretend for a second that Buggy Huggy's mistranslated bio was definitive proof that they were connected. So what? Buggy Huggy is a completely separate channel. Your client failed to connect this artist to Poppy Shotley. In fact, there's no real proof that Buggy Huggy even used this model. So even if Buggy Huggy and Poppy Shotley are connected, how do we know it was them who ordered the model and not another content farm channel? After all, they're all working with the same reference, what the trailers show us. And I don't think I need to tell you that having the name Vlad doesn't automatically mean they're from Russia, even if the name is common there. And even if they did come from Russia, being born in the same area as a random Slavic artist means nothing. There's bound to be thousands, if not got hundreds of thousands of 3D modeling artists in Russia. It's a big country. But there's something else not too long after that TheftKing talks about that further disproves the transcript theory from earlier. This is the part where TheftKing brings up his theory about them having the game's transcript.
For example, look at the Poppy elevator scene. If you just read the transcript for it without any context for what's happening, you could see how one could misinterpret it as Kissy attacking Poppy and the player.
But before we get into further disproving the transcript theory, Theft then goes into their Chapter 4 content with this panda character Cutie Susie, which doesn't really have anything to do with the video's main topic. However, this is very terrible, given that the segment talking about Poppy Shotley's bad Chapter 4 content takes up over half the video.
Oh, please. Half the video? Exaggeration is looked down pretty heavily in this courtroom. I hope you know that.
That's not an exaggeration. In this 30-minute video about how the Russians stole Poppy Playtime, a full 16 minutes are allocated to talking about these fake Chapter 4 videos and skits where he jokes about becoming a content farm because of how many views they get. For reference, the intro of the video before we get into the argument is 2 minutes. That means only a third of this video is actually about what the thumbnail's talking about. And it's even worse when you discover how much is dedicated to what the title is talking about.
Aren't those the same thing?
Not at all. Whereas the thumbnail says, Russians stole Poppy Playtime, which lines up with the conspiracy theme of the video, the title is the illegal Russian version of Poppy Playtime, which indicates a bootleg game, which there is, and Theft does talk about it. But you know how long the video talks about the game that this whole video is based around? 124 to 144 and 933 to 1005. That's it. 52 seconds of a 30-minute long video are dedicated to the title's topic. That's 3% of the entire video.
But wait. Skipping past the Chapter 4 stuff, that leaves us at 28 minutes into the video, with only 2 minutes left to go over the video's topic!
Exactly! But let's see what TheftKing comes up with as to how Poppy Shotley got their hands on this transcript.
So how did a bunch of random dudes from Russia or whatever get access to these kinds of Poppy leaks when no one else did? Who would have Poppy Chapter 3's transcript months in advance and use it to make a fake game with which they could produce fake videos to trick kids on YouTube and make money?
Alright, where are you going with this, TheftKing?
Wait a minute. Russian. Poppy Playtime has a Russian translation, which means someone who speaks Russian had access to the game's transcript prior to its release. Could it be that the people responsible for producing the Russian translation of Poppy Playtime, or someone close to them, stole the story and used it to produce these fake gameplay videos? Sure, it eventually goes off the rails, but the early videos really do play out as if someone tried to reconstruct Poppy Playtime from the game's transcript alone. If you only had the game's dialogue, then yeah, I could see how you could get the general story beats correct, but misinterpret a few key things.
But that can't be true, right? The dialogue, it's...
You can't deny it's at least warranted. They've gotten quite a few things right, even considering some of the dialogue was found in the trailers. Particularly the ending scene where you, Kissy, and Poppy are on an elevator and the prototype attacks. Although the aftermath of it is incorrect, to guess the game's final moments with this pinpoint accuracy does raise suspicion. If they only had the transcript, it is reasonable they'd assume the moment to look like this, just as Theft claims here today.
You know, there's something that's been bothering me since the start of this trial. The transcript. TheftKing claims he got access to it because of the Russian translation team, correct?
One of the first languages stated on Chapter 3's Steam page is that it supports Russian for translated interface and subtitles. In order to translate these, they'd have to have access to the transcript in advance. Plain and simple.
And yet these videos are in English, right?
Where are you going with this?
If they had a transcript in Russian, they'd have to translate it back, which would mean the dialogue shouldn't be the same as the English release. Russian is a rather notoriously difficult language for English speakers to learn, particularly thanks to its grammar rules. As with all languages, words can mean different things and have different contexts, and others can mean roughly the same thing despite being different words. If they had access to the Russian transcript, they'd need to translate it back to English for their channel. But some words would have to be different due to interpretation. In other words, if they were using the transcript, then the dialogue they do get correct should be different.
As quick to jump the gun as ever, are you? If they knew the person behind the Russian translation of Poppy Playtime, it's pretty obvious they need the English translation to translate it to Russian in the first place! The insider getting the transcript for Poppy Shotley would almost certainly have the exact dialogue for both versions.
But that can't be true either, can it?
Huh?
Let me put it simply. If they had the final transcripts, why not just quote everything?
What do you mean? They do just that! Look at the dialogue!
That's from the trailers, though. If they had access to the full transcripts, wouldn't it be much smarter to copy all of the dialogue? If they had just copied over the exact lines, even if they had to use AI voices, people would notice when Chapter 3 was released, which means people would clearly see they had information their competitors didn't. Even if they didn't later have access to Chapter 4's transcripts, people would then look to their channel for Chapter 4 predictions in hopes they predict it right again. If they really did have the transcripts for Chapter 3, they clearly wasted it. After all, why only quote a select few lines? And why only quote what's readily available for everyone? Throughout this entire video, TheftKing only really mentions 2 instances from the transcript that could have been used, both of which are provably using moments from the trailer or could reasonably have been made before the game was released, no transcripts needed. Although I hate content farms too, the arguments made against Poppy Shotley are completely unfounded. Not only because the 2 examples they give are objectively flawed, but because the actions they take make no sense for a content farm with that information. If you want to make a video about this content farm's weird videos, that's fine. But don't title it in a way that makes people think they're watching a video talking about a completely different subject. The title makes it seem like it's about a bootleg game, which you only talk about for less than a minute of the 30-minute runtime. The thumbnail makes it seem like it's about how Poppy Shotley stole Poppy Playtime early, which you only talk about for a third, while the rest of the video is dedicated to Poppy Shotley's Chapter 4 content, which has nothing to do with the subject matter of this video. As such, this video is hereby deemed clickbait. I rest my case.